What's up, Redskins fans, or soon to be something else? But
Coming
what's
up.
up? Coming off a win, unfortunately, kind of a they call it garbage time scores. This is kind of like a garbage time win, but it is what it is. It's good to get a win. We won 22-7 over the Giants, who are probably the worst team in the NFL. So thank God we won by a decent amount. Washington would start the ball first against the Giants, which usually isn't particularly a good thing for us, but it obviously worked out well
Just got
this
a hit
time.
on that.
Yeah, usually that's not a good sign. I was not happy to see that, but went into this game fairly optimistic given the state of the Giants, and I'm glad I did because it was an easy win
The
for the most
organization
part.
is in disarray.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. On the second play of the game, Heineke would complete a pass on rep to Terry McLaurin for an early first down. It's nice to see Terry getting in there, getting some action.
Yep.
There's been a couple weeks there where he was not targeted much, and I know that disappointed a lot of us.
Right.
It's like why would you not at least try and get him the ball? It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah, it really doesn't. Yeah, and then Gibson would put together a few nice runs on the drive. I think his first 3 carries, he had like 19 yards. Heineke would make a nice play, avoiding a sack, and found McLaurin down the field on a deep pass for 30 yards. So yeah, Terry had something like, after really struggling, like you mentioned, the last few weeks, he had something like 3 catches in the first quarter. So
Yeah. After that, Taylor would pick up a first down with his legs to move the ball into the red zone. On 3rd and 4, Heineke overthrows Cam Sims in the end zone. But fortunately, Washington would at least add a 23-yard Joey Sly field goal,
yep.
Which would take almost 6 minutes off the clock. Joey Sly starting his Washington career 10 for 10. So, I mean, since we picked him up, I was pretty happy with it, and especially after the first game. Exactly. He's done very well for us. And side note about Joey Sly, dude is a massive kicker. Like he's easily the biggest kicker in the league. I mean, you look at him, he looks like a linebacker. Dude is massive.
He's a lot bigger than Robbie. Robbie looks like he's like sick or something. I was like,
yeah, or a lot bigger than Tress
yeah.
Way.
Yeah.
I mean, he's big. The Giants were starting Jake from State Farm.
That's where he's from. He's actually from Georgia, but yeah. Either way.
But yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Starting off facing a 3rd and 4, Fromm would scramble and pick up 18 yards and a first down. Later on in the drive, the Giants facing a 4th and 1, Washington would be called for a neutral zone infraction, which gave the Giants a first down. A few plays later, the Giants would attempt to go for it on another 4th and 1. They tried to hand it off to their rookie receiver Bachman, but it was read perfectly in the backfield by Jamin Davis, and he tackled him for a loss. I remember seeing that happen. That was just going nowhere. They handed it off, and he was just right there and just took his ass down.
It's one of his better plays of the season, so it was good to see him in the last game of the season. At least go off on a positive note. And then he had the sack the week before against the Eagles. So, Jamin Davis the last couple of weeks starting to come on a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully he improves in the offseason and next season. I'm sure he'll be around still next season. He'll start to improve and do more for us. So. Washington would take over after a run by Gibson of 3 yards on first down. Terry would catch a screen pass and gain 12 more yards, which would officially put Terry over 1,000 yards on the season.
Yep.
So big record-breaking day for Terry. There would be another record later on in the game, which I'm sure we will cover.
Yep.
Taylor would take a deep shot, but the ball was overthrown and picked by Xavier McKinney. However, Terry blasted him, and he would drop the ball before being able to gain possession, and it was incomplete.
Yeah, like as soon as he hit the ground like that, because as soon as he picked it, Terry just like blew him up and just like he hit the ground and the ball just.
Yeah, Terry playing some defense there, and that was a nice hit.
Some defensive back, exactly. So, let's see here. And so that ball would be ruled incomplete. The pick wouldn't stand. And then Washington would end up getting the opportunity to punt the ball back to the Giants. Jake Fromm tried to fit the ball in a tight, or tried to set up a tight end screen to Kyle Rudolph, but it was tackled for a loss of 2 by interior defensive lineman Tim Settle, who made a nice play. And,
hope to see a lot of him, and doing well, especially because I know he'll be back next season. Especially if we have to lose one of the guys we have now, he's going to be one of the main guys.
Yeah, I could see if Payne goes on,
Right, Payne. That's who I was thinking.
Him stepping up, yeah, for sure.
Definitely
On that interior defensive line. So then Washington would go, or the Giants, I'm sorry, would go 3-and-out. It really didn't matter at this point because honestly, this game was pretty much a punt fest in most of the second quarter. Eventually, one bright spot in the second quarter would be a third down sack of Jake Fromm, which was split between John Allen and William Bradley King, which was pretty good. That was the first sack that Washington got on the day, and that would bring. Let me give you. I want to say Pro Bowler John Allen. Congrats again. I know we've mentioned that, but
I think he's got like
to,
8 sacks or 7.5
I want
sacks,
to say
something like that.
I think he's got 9 now. Let me verify.
Okay. Hmm.
He has 9. Yep. So
9.
career high
Okay.
9 sacks, beating
Nice.
a previous career high of 8, and making his first Pro Bowl. So congrats to him. Also,
Hell yeah.
Brandon Sheriff getting into the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, who may not be around because I guess since we're mentioning him, he apparently declined a record contract recently, to be the highest paid guard in the NFL.
He had said something that like he wants to come back at Washington. I think the angle, if speculation is correct, is that now keep in mind as we said he is a guard, but I think he's trying to get tackle money, which they make a little bit more. So I think I think at this point it's not that he's trying to leave Washington. I think he's trying to leverage the situation.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next Washington drive started great with a 27-yard Gibson run. However, it would stall out and Tressway would come in to punt again. Cam Sims would down the punt inside the Giants' 5 to pin them deep. And in a super bizarre sequence, the Giants would run back-to-back quarterback sneaks, one of which was on a 3rd and 8 by their end zone.
Oh my God, they got booed.
And this got they just got so many boos from the New York crowd, which is understandable.
It's the ultimate give up play. It's like,
yeah, man, like what are you doing twice in a row? Like
it just shows your offensive ineptitude. And I mean, it's really not a shock to see why after this game. I'm shocked that it took 2 days to fire Joe Judge after this shit. I mean, this is pathetic. I mean, and this was the 6th straight game that the Giants would lose by 10 or more points. So not only are they losing games, but they're losing by a large margin.
Definitely one of my favorite firings of the season.
This one wasn't
Joe Judge.
I was actually more surprised initially when reports came out like 2 or 3 days before the last game of the season against Washington that they were going to retain him. I was like, well, what the hell for? I was like, well, why would you do that? I was like, he's 4-12.
And he made those comments about like, I think he said Washington was a garbage team or something along those lines.
No, what
did he say?
So he said basically, hold on.
It's like maybe just find the. I know he said something that was just really, dude, like really. And then he tried blown out by Washington, by 22-7.
Yeah, he tried to pass it off like he wasn't talking about Washington specifically.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But yeah. Report on Joe Judge's fucking incompetence while I'm fucking looking up.
But yeah, they finished with a 4-13 record that concluded with 6 straight losses. New York went 10-23 in Judge's 2 seasons and has not made the playoffs since 2016. None of the Giants' past 3 coaching tenures have exceeded 2 years. We got Ben McAdoo, 2016-17, Pat Shurmur from 2018-19, and then obviously Joe Judge. The team had previously fired offensive coordinator Jason Garrett on November 23rd after opening the season 3-7. Judge hired Garrett ahead of the 2020 season to serve as his first offensive coordinator in New York. Garrett had previously went 85-67, pretty good record, in more than 9 seasons as head coach of the Cowboys.
Yeah. So here's the Joe Judge quote. So basically, and I quote, "This ain't a team that's having fistfights on the sidelines. This ain't some clown show organization or something else, okay?"
Who else could that be other than Washington?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then he said it was more like a general statement, like, because they asked him, they're like, "Do you mean like Washington?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "I just mean in general." He's like,
Oh
That's
yeah, no, that's our next game, but no, that's not what I'm talking about at all,
yeah,
man. I'm just talking generally. What a piece of shit. I'm glad he got fired. I mean, I already
yeah,
am because if the
yeah,
Giants do bad, but honestly, at this point, it doesn't even matter with the Cowboys and
yeah.
even the Eagles.
This is what Ron said. So Ron's response was, "Well,
Wait,
it's
Ron's response.
yeah." So Ron, because they asked Ron what he thought about Joe
Oh,
Judge's comment,
that's
and then
right.
yeah, and then he was like, "Well, it's interesting. It is," Rivera said Wednesday, "and I'm not going to respond to something that's interesting. But what's important is we play on Sunday, and I've got a tremendous amount of respect for the Giants organization, the Mars."
Really, that's what he said.
And the Tishes are quality people and do a great job with their organization. As far as I'm concerned, we play on Sunday. So Ron kept it super professional and just went out there and beat the shit out of the Giants
Yeah,
on,
I
on
mean, I
Sunday
guess
with
that's what
with his
matters
play.
is that score.
But
So
but
that is what
but
matters.
then they asked him let me see if it's here. Okay, hold on. I've got a little bit more to the Judge quote, and then I'll reference kind of what because Ron said something later on in the week. But yeah, so this is more of
Okay.
the Joe Judge quote. So they asked him if that was a dig at Washington, and then he backtracked and he's like, "No, I just made a comment towards any outward dysfunction. My focus is on getting our team ready right now for Washington. You can make it a lot. You can make a lot of the comments I've said in the past. Right now, I'm focused on getting the team ready for Washington this weekend."
Yeah, that just sounds funny. Him saying, it's not about Washington, but we're just focused on getting ready for Washington." So it's like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
And then
Really?
yeah,
Like,
and then later in the week, I guess Ron had came out and said something that he's like, after I thought about it, it actually did bother me because he's like Joe Judge doesn't really know what's going on in our house or whatever. Like obviously with the Montez Sweat situation and the Deshaver Everett situation, so he's like, for him to say that is
yeah.
pretty. So obviously it did piss Ron off after he thought about it more. So
I'm sure it did initially too, but he was
yeah,
like,
he was just acting. He was just taking the high road.
yeah, doing what he has to do.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So Joe Judge is out. Obviously, I would be shocked to see him get another head coaching job. Jason Garrett is out as well, as we mentioned. The interesting thing about Jason Garrett is the Giants' offense was averaging 18 points a game with Jason Garrett, and
Mhm.
9 points after. So after they fired the offensive coordinator, the offense got got worse. Go figure.
9 points.
Yeah,
Oof. Oof.
shocked that happened.
Mm, that's rough.
But yeah, it was a rough week for the Belichick coaching tree because both Flores and Joe Judge are former Bill Belichick assistants. Which
Hmm.
honestly, most Bill Belichick assistants end up making garbage head coaches. It's really just a situation where, and I think I've said this before. It's like he'll show them, or
He withheld the knowledge
yeah,
from
yeah.
them,
No, so
the
so it's
true
like
knowledge.
yeah, yeah. So it's like one of those situations where it's like he showed them everything they know, but he definitely didn't teach them everything he knows. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Belichick's like Belichick, Belichick, Belichong.
Belichunk.
Yeah. Belichick is like he's the emperor, man. He's fucking Palpatine. Like
And the best part about that, when they did that, they had to punt the ball back. We got it with a minute and 34 left in the half, so we had some chance to add some more points. And on the first play of the drive, Heineke takes a deep shot and completes it to Terry McLaurin for a
yeah,
gain of 40 yards.
yeah,
So it gets us, way down the field.
yeah,
Unfortunately, Leonard Williams would sack Taylor on the next play. It would be the Giants' third sack of the day, one of the few things that they did well.
yeah. Their
And
defensive line
after
is pretty good.
Yes, it is. After a couple of short completions to Jarrett Patterson, they would add a 43-yard Joey Sly field goal to make it 6-0 at the half.
Yep. Joey Sly, 11 for 11 now. Monitoring
Absolutely.
he's going to take this into next season now. I want you to know that because he's coming back. I bet. I mean, he's
Oh,
earned himself the
absolutely.
right to come back.
I believe he
Um,
definitely will come back.
yeah. And then so the Giants get the ball coming out of the half. Whoop-de fucking do at this point with the way that offense has looked. Facing a 3rd and 12. Jake Fromm taking a deep shot for Galladay, and the ball just past the fingertips of Galladay. It almost seemed like Galladay wasn't running the route
Yeah, that
at
was a
full
weird
health
one.
speed.
It was
It
like
was
it
like,
almost like I remember when we first saw it, it was like, dude, he didn't
yeah,
even try and catch it. But
yeah,
then he did try and catch
yeah.
it, but it was just weird.
The Giants are just like moving on like autopilot. Like I feel like it's just the
Yeah.
lights are on, but nobody's home. It's just like one of those situations where I think they all knew that Joe Judge was probably on his way out, and just nobody gave a shit. It didn't. They played like a team that didn't give a damn. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
On Washington's next drive
yeah,
was very run heavy with Gibson, which will turn out to be fruitful as the game continues. Williams and Patterson also getting carries on the drive as
yeah,
well. They both looked very good the times that they've had, other than the one time Williams had that fumble, but they both look very, very strong. I believe they'll both be back next season. The best run between the pair of them was a 23-yard run by Jonathan Williams.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, we do know now actually that Jonathan Williams.
That's true. We do
Yeah,
know that. That's right.
yeah. So also a report that Washington has signed a couple players for the future. First being Jonathan Williams getting signed to a 1-year deal. Also cornerback Corn Elder, former Carolina player of Ron's, getting signed to a 1-year deal. He appeared in some games with Washington this year as well. And then they also picked up um, lifetime backup running back Reggie Bonifon, which I don't really foresee him taking snaps from anybody, especially with, as we've talked about, they've got a pretty deep running back's not a position you guys are hurting at.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, uh, on that drive, facing a 3rd and 8, or I guess, sorry, 4th and 8, Ron would bypass a 54-yard field goal attempt, which I'm not sure if that was just more the conditions, because obviously we know Joey Sly has enough leg for that.
Definitely.
So they would end up punting, and that was a good decision as Tress Way would pin the Giants back inside the 20. So good to see him off the COVID list and punting well again.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, after that, though, Cam Curl would exit the game after a collision with a teammate when making the tackle.
Yep.
And then the Giants would convert a rare 3rd and 4 on a screen pass to Booker. However, on the very next play, Fromm looked for Evan Ingram in the flat, but Bobby McCain would jump the route and return it all the way for a touchdown, which was just well beautiful. Beautiful. Well, Washington would go for 2 for some reason. Taylor had a ton of time running right, running left, just going back and forth.
Running all over the place.
Yeah, he was just, was chicken with his head cut off. And then throwing for Gibson, but it would be knocked away incomplete. So I'm not sure why. I know why they went for 2 to make it 14-0, 2-possession game. Like, I get it. But at the same time, it's like, just.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it in the sense that, like, what about the Giants offense scares you to go for 2 at that point?
Yeah, it's just an odd choice, but I mean, ultimately it didn't matter, but
it did
still right. an odd choice given the state of the game.
Probably just because it's not a riverboat game. If there's not something to.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And then so the Giants would start to put a little drive together with Fromm converting a 3rd and 2 on another scramble. That was definitely his best.
That was his thing. Is the best
element of his game for sure was his mobility, and he wasn't even that mobile. He just had some timely runs.
Yeah.
But the Giants would end up. The Giants' drive would extend into the 4th quarter, and on a 4th and 5, the Giants would pick up a 4th down on a short pass to Saquon Barkley. When Washington came with I think they came with like a 5-man rush. They sent an extra guy on the blitz, and he fired it in real quick to the back on like a quick screen and picked up the 1st down.
Yeah, they got a couple of 4th down conversions there.
They did.
After that one, they got another one, 4th down, 4th and 2 this time, and he Fromm finds Galladay for a 1st down.
With the offense, I mean, it was a lot of desperation. They really they really had to go for it a lot.
Definitely. So the Giants finally managed to turn the drive into points with 11 minutes and 24 seconds left in the 4th quarter when Jake Fromm threw a 22-yard touchdown pass to Darius Slayton to cut the lead from 12 to 7.
Yep.
So next thing, great aspect of this game. I mean, like,
Yep.
again, the outcome of this game didn't really matter, but we already had Terry McLaurin's 1,000 yards being broken, which is great. And coming into this game, Gibson needed 125 yards to top 1,000 rushing on this season. And on Washington's next drive, he would surpass that for the first time in his career. He would, of course, be the one to cap off the drive with an 18-yard rushing touchdown to pull ahead 19-7 after the extra point. He also set a new record with 21 touchdowns in his first 2 seasons, most all time by any Washington player, breaking the old record held by Alfred Morris.
I was surprised that Alfred had that record.
I know, right?
I was like, of all the Washington players, you've got like,
I know, right?
You got like Riggins, you got, who's geez,
Clinton Portis.
Yeah. Clinton Portis would have been another one that I would have thought. Santana Moss.
Wait, Santana Moss was a receiver.
Well, I mean, this is total touchdown records. It's not like running back. It's not.
Oh, I thought it was just running back. Oh, really?
No,
Okay. I thought it was just a rushing touchdown.
No.
Oh, well, what's crazy? I was going to say he only had like 7 or 6 touchdowns this season. It was mostly last season. He had 14 last season, I think, and 7 this season.
Yeah, so he had I think he actually had, I want to say he had 9, but he had like 3 on the through the air receiving. So I want to say he had like 6. Yeah.
I see.
So 7 rushing touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns.
Okay.
So he had 10 total touchdowns.
Okay, I got you then.
Whereas he had 11.
He had 11
last season, but they were all on the ground.
Okay. Yeah. I see. Well, you know what? He probably got a lot of those receiving touchdowns because McKissick was out for a bit. Yeah. And God, what if we had a healthy team, man? All right. Well, on to the ending of this last game. The way it finished out, the Giants would start the next drive with 6:28 to play, down 2 scores. But on the opening play, Fromm would lose the football, and it would be recovered by Tim Settle.
Yeah. So Tim Settle making a few big plays,
and that's great to see.
Yeah. And one last thing that I'm just going to cover real quick. In that game, this is the first time in a Washington season where with Taylor Heinicke going over 3,000 yards, Terry going over 1,000 yards receiving, and Antonio Gibson going over 1,000 yards rushing, that they've had a 3,000-yard passer and 1,000-yard rusher and 1,000-yard receiver all in the same season.
Since when?
I don't know the exact year, but I know that the last time Washington had a 3,000-yard passer was in 2017 with Kirk Cousins, his last year there. And then I also have this graphic that we'll put up that shows some of the Washington quarterbacks and their record that they've started recently. So as we have that up there, we'll continue this. Washington would add a third Joey Sly field goal to extend the lead to 22-7 with 4:40 left in the game. This was the second sack we were talking about. James Smith-Williams and Shaka Toney coming up with splitting a sack on Fromm. So a couple of the depth signings as far as the defensive line, good to see them getting some pressure on the quarterback. And facing a 4th and 17, despite being down 2 scores and still, in a situation where you'd expect a team to go for it, the Giants continued to kind of wave the white flag and punt for their 6th time. So Washington would keep the run game going, and they would run for a season high, which I know you were excited about, 225 yards.
Yeah, dude, that was exciting. Yeah, 225, damn.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is the Giants though, so it's like you can't get too excited. Yes, I was excited about it, but at the same time, it's like you can't get too excited though.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I mean, it's something to build off of, especially going.
And it's a nice ending to a season that was already over. I mean, like I said before, this game really didn't matter, but it was nice. I mean, at least for it to go the way it did. I mean,
yeah. And I mean, on the day, like Heinicke, we'll go through the top numbers real quick. So Heinicke on the day, only 9 of 18 passing for 120 yards. They really didn't need to throw the ball much. No touchdowns. Gibson, 21 carries, 146 yards, 1 touchdown. Jonathan Williams, 7 carries for 45 yards to earn himself that contract.
Yeah.
Jarrett Patterson, 6 for 21. DeAndre Carter had a little end-around play for 11 yards as they continue to use that as an element. I think they need to continue that next season. He's like their little Debo Samuel.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely
And
agree.
Terry had, after a few rough games, had 4 catches for 93 yards to lead Washington. Next highest was Patterson with 2 for 14, and really not anybody else did much because there wasn't much passing involved. Terry kind of
Yeah.
handled the bulk of that.
Yeah, one of the downsides of the way the injuries and stuff have affected us, Keith Ismail, our 4th starting center of the season, snapped it way over Taylor's head on a
Yep.
3rd down play, where he made a great play just to recover the ball and to throw it away without eating the sack. We would have to punt for the 6th and final time. I mean, at this point, it really doesn't matter. It's 22-7. To end the game, Giants would move the ball 46 yards, with 27 of that coming from another Jake Fromm scramble.
Yeah.
However, as the game was coming to an end, he threw his 2nd interception of the day once again to Bobby McCain, which sealed the win. So
damn it, Bobby.
It's nice to go out on a win on the final game of the season. Unfortunately, it really didn't make much of a difference. I guess we just lost a few draft positions, which I know some people. I mean, if you look at it, you're like, I mean, I think I'd rather enjoy a win the last game of the season.
I think that's something that build off of.
My logical mind wants to be like, no, fucking just lose, man. Just get the higher draft pick. But then you're like, yeah, but that sucks. Like,
So it's always more enjoyable to win. And
absolutely,
yeah, Jake Fromm. We'll just give you his. He was 15 out of 31 for 103 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. He was, I think he was better than what Glennon was giving him the last couple weeks. And then 5 carries for 53 yards. So he was their leading rusher. Saquon only had 11 for 30. 11 carries for 30 yards.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Well,
obviously not a game to recap next week, but we will go over any Washington news that happens.
Yeah, basically anything from this point on will just be probably news about the new name, things like that. We'll obviously be covering the playoffs if you're interested in that, but we'll probably have just short updates if anything comes out with Washington. Obviously, the name change when that happens, especially February 2nd, we'll definitely be talking about that. Yeah, and then as the various things that happen, come to be, we'll definitely discuss that.
Yep.
So,
all right, thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks everyone. Have a good night.